Everybody else has a claim, and Tony said this one was going to be mine. I'd like to get going on it.
Tony Beets is about to do something he's never done before. In just a few moments, he's going to get on the radio, call his daughter Monika, and ask her to meet him at the lower yard. She won't have a clue why. When she arrives, she'll see her father standing beside a brand new $1 million wash plant. Only a year old, it's the Beets family's massive, hand-built 25-ton wash plant, the first and largest of its kind in the region. A stunning machine Tony bought specifically for her. No hints, no build-up, just a father surprising his daughter with a gift that could change everything. But this moment isn't just about generosity, it's about urgency. The king of the Klondike is under pressure. Tony needs Monika to launch a third mining operation immediately, and he's betting $1 million that this bold surprise will save his entire season. Tony is chasing a $12.5 million season, 5,000 ounces of Klondike gold at today's record-breaking prices. Right now, he's sitting at 4,820 ounces, just 180 ounces shy of his target. That's roughly $450,000 worth of gold standing between Tony and the biggest payday of his legendary career. He's got a plan. He's always wanted to rework the old-timer tailings, and if there was ever a time to do it, it's now. Gold prices are high. Fuel costs are relatively low. The conditions make sense. Now it's about execution. With the mining season closing fast and winter threatening to freeze the Yukon solid, time is running out. Deep in Canada's Yukon territory, Tony Beets lives by a simple rule. When gold prices climb, every single day of sluicing turns directly into profit. As he likes to say, how much money you make depends entirely on how hard you're willing to work. And Tony has never believed in doing the minimum. He built his empire by outworking everyone else in the Klondike, and he's not about to change now. At the moment, he has 2 operations running around the clock. The massive trommel at Paradise Hill chews through mountains of pay dirt, while the sluice plant at Indian River keeps adding to the gold pile. 2 plants, 2 steady streams of revenue. At roughly $2,500 an ounce, those operations have already brought in nearly $12 million this season. Most miners would celebrate those numbers and start thinking about next year. But Tony Beets isn't most miners. He doesn't just want to hit 5,000 ounces, he wants to crush it. To do that, he needs a third plant up and running before winter shuts everything down. 3 operations working at once. 3 cuts producing gold from 3 separate locations. And that responsibility falls on Monika. The original plan was centered around a site known as the Hester cut, 2 acres of untouched virgin ground left behind by old dredges decades ago. Tony has studied this land for 40 years. He's analyzed it, calculated its potential, and waited for the right moment to mine it. Virgin ground in the Klondike can mean serious gold, untouched deposits capable of producing massive nuggets. If Monika could bring the Hester cut online, Tony believed it could add another 500 ounces to their total. That's $1.25 million in gold still sitting in the ground. 7 weeks earlier, Monika set out to turn her father's 4-decade dream into reality. The Hester cut would be her operation, another chance to prove herself in the unforgiving world of Klondike gold mining. She was excited. Virgin ground like that could deliver the kind of chunky gold that makes a miner's heart pound. But the Klondike has a brutal way of crushing expectations. What Monika found wasn't a gold-rich cut ready to be mined. It was a disaster. The entire area had turned into a swamp of thick, bright yellow mud. Not brown, not gray. A sickly yellow sludge stretching in every direction. They tried pumping it out. They waited for it to dry. Nothing worked. Tony didn't sugarcoat it. There was no point even bringing in a dozer. The ground was impossible. The entire cut had turned into a soup hole, unstable, unworkable, and completely inaccessible. It wasn't a mining site. It was quicksand with attitude. Tony told Monika to forget it. Sometimes in mining, you have to walk away. End of story. Except Monika Beets isn't built to quit. She inherited more than her father's last name. She inherited his stubborn refusal to accept defeat. While Tony was ready to abandon the idea of a third plant altogether, Monika was already thinking of another option, and she had one. Just 1,000 feet from the failed Hester cut sits a massive pile of old-timer tailings, leftovers from the earliest days of mechanical mining in the Klondike. These piles of rock and gravel were processed decades ago with primitive equipment that recovered only a fraction of the gold. The old miners didn't have today's technology. They left gold behind, gold that modern wash plants could still capture. 4 years ago, Tony sluiced these same tailings for 5 weeks and pulled out 330 ounces of gold, worth about $412,000 at the time. But they never finished the job. There was still gold left in that pile, and since then, gold prices have doubled. That same 330 ounces would now be worth around $825,000. The value of what's still sitting there has literally doubled without anyone touching it. Monika saw the opportunity. If they couldn't mine virgin ground, they could remine history. She pitched the idea to her father, and it just might be the gamble that saves the season. Why not shift their focus to the old-timer tailings? It wasn't the untouched virgin ground they originally hoped for, but it was proven gold. They already knew there was gold in that pile, because they had pulled some out before. Tony listened closely. His frustration slowly turned into calculation. The numbers were simple. Same gold, double the current price, double the potential profit. If it made money 4 years ago, it would make twice as much today. The decision didn't take long. Let's do it. Monika couldn't hide her satisfaction. She believed the plan was smart, and she had no problem reminding everyone that it was her idea. As long as we've got a plan, let's get moving, she said. We need to get the Loose Creek trommel to the welder, fix everything up, and get a pump down there. In a family mining empire like the Beets operation, proving yourself never gets old. Within hours, crews were stacking and preparing the old-timer tailings, getting them ready to run through the Moose Creek trommel. Tony's dream of running 3 plants at once was suddenly alive again. If everything stayed on schedule, they could have 3 wash plants operating by the end of the week, 3 steady streams of gold flowing in at $2,500 an ounce. But Tony had already set another plan in motion, one he hadn't told anyone about. A recent opportunity had come his way, and when opportunity knocks in the Klondike, you don't hesitate. The radio crackled. Monika, do you copy? Yes. Come down to the lower yard. I've got a bit of a surprise for you. Tony stood waiting near the equipment storage area, arms folded, watching the access road. He had quietly arranged a delivery 3 days earlier. He negotiated the deal himself and kept it completely under wraps. Monika's truck pulled in and came to a stop. She stepped out, shielding her eyes from the afternoon sun, clearly puzzled about why she'd been called away from work. The lower yard was usually reserved for spare parts and broken equipment, not exactly the place for good news. Then she saw it. Sitting in the center of the yard, shining like it had just left the factory floor, was one of the most impressive pieces of mining equipment she'd ever laid eyes on. A brand new wash plant. Massive. Immaculate. Its blue and yellow paint gleamed in the Yukon sunlight. For a moment, Monika just stood there, taking it in. Her eyes moved over the hopper, the sluice runs, the hydraulic systems. This wasn't some patched-up second-hand machine held together by welds and hope. This was top of the line. Absolute beast, she said under her breath. A real blue monster, Tony replied, pride creeping into his voice. There you go, young lady. Gorgeous machine. Monika approached it, almost reverently, running her hand along the steel frame as she circled the enormous plant. The opportunity came up, Tony explained, watching her reaction. So, I bought it. I appreciate it, Monika said, still absorbing what her father had just handed her. This wasn't just any wash plant. It was $1 million super sluice, designed specifically to handle oversized rocks and heavy material that would choke standard plants. The specifications were impressive. The hopper could accept rocks up to 18 inches in diameter, At full throttle, it could process as much as 200 tons of material per hour. High-pressure water jets blasted gold free from the rocks, while hydraulic steel fingers pushed waste aside. The heavier gold settled into the sluices below, trapped by specialized ribbed matting capable of catching even fine flour gold. Under solid conditions, a plant like this could produce 15 to 20 ounces per day. That's $37,500 to $50,000 worth of gold every single day. Over a 3-week push to close out the season, it could add 300 ounces or more to Tony's total, roughly $750,000 in additional gold. For a $1 million investment, the math worked. Crew foreman Glenn wandered over, curious about the commotion. When he saw the plant, he let out a long whistle. "That's a serious piece of machinery," he said, circling it. "Tony, where'd you even find that?" Tony shrugged. "Keep your eyes open long enough, you find things." Monika was already climbing up to inspect the hopper layout. "I thought we were running the Moose Creek trommel on the tailings," she called down. "That would have taken too long," Tony answered. "This one we can drop in place, hook it up, and start running. Time's money." Monika looked down at him, a grin forming. "I've still got a birthday present coming though, right?" Tony gave a classic Beets response. "We'll see. Let's fire it up," Monika said, shifting instantly back into work mode. But first, they had to move it. 17 tons of wash plant needed to be transported from the lower yard to its new position beside the old-timer tailings. Tony called in his best operators. This wasn't a job for rookies. There's no room for mistakes when you're moving $1 million worth of equipment across rough Yukon ground. The move required tight coordination between multiple machines. Monika and Glenn positioned forklifts to lift the massive plant, while cousin Mike slid heavy-duty skids underneath. Once secured, Mike Beets would use a dozer to drag the entire setup into its final position. Tony stood nearby with a radio in hand, directing every move with his usual intensity. At one point, he reconsidered the schedule. "Instead of rushing to Monika's cut, we should finish pumping out that hole and finish taking that payout," he said. "If we don't do it now, it'll sit until next year. Let's not mess around." Then it was back to the move. "Okay, Monika, up a little. Up, up. Hold it right there." The forklift groaned under the 17-ton load, hydraulics whining as it strained. More. "That's good. Hold it." With careful precision built from years of experience, Mike slid the skids perfectly into place. "Mike, pull it," Tony ordered. And slowly, deliberately, the $1 million beast began its journey to its new home, the machine that might just save their season. "Go, go, go. Pull it a little more." "Okay, perfect." The dozer cables tightened, stretching under the strain. Inch by inch, the $1 million super sluice crept forward toward its new home beside the old-timer tailings pile. "Keep it moving, keep it rolling, that's good." Monika maneuvered the 700 excavator into position, carefully pushing the plant the final stretch. "It's got to sit nice and centered. Keep coming. That's it." With a heavy, satisfying thud, the wash plant settled onto its pad. "That went pretty smooth," Mike said. "That went awesome," Monika replied with a grin. Tony stood back, studying the setup with clear satisfaction. "We'll level it off." "Bingo. Perfect. I think this'll be just right for what Monika needs." The $1 million super sluice now sat perfectly positioned beside the old-timer tailings, ready to turn decades-old leftovers into fresh gold at today's record-breaking prices. But there was no time to celebrate. The clock was ticking. The plant was in place, but it wasn't ready to run. Pumps still had to be installed. Pipes needed to be connected. Water lines had to be run from the settling pond. Tony figured it would take about 2 days to get everything fully operational. 2 days before the super sluice would roar to life for its first test run. The final push math was bold, but doable. With 3 plants running at the same time, Tony estimated they could process enough material to produce 40 to 50 ounces per day across all operations. At $2,500 an ounce, that meant $100,000 to $125,000 in gold hitting the scales every single day. To make up the remaining 180 ounces and break through the 5,000-ounce goal, Tony needed roughly 4 strong days of triple plant production. 4 days to lock in a $12.5 million season. 4 days to reinforce his legacy as the undisputed king of the Klondike. The super sluice gleamed under the fading Yukon sun. In 48 hours, Monika would dump the first bucket of old-timer tailings into that hopper. In 48 hours, they would finally learn how much gold the previous generation of miners had left behind. Tony Beets was betting $1 million that the answer would be plenty. And if you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe to the Timefold channel and don't forget to like.